Everybody, welcome. Happy Make New Friends Friday. I am super excited about today's Pink Sheep and Friends, and have a couple of things that I started a little early. I have a couple of announcements, and for anyone watching the replay, my name is Evelyn of Pink Sheep Design, and check it out. This is the first time that I have painted my nails in like years. But they're really pretty. They're like sparkly coral. Of course, it's not gonna focus on them. But I have painted nails. It's crazy. I wanted to share with you guys that I just finished my newest cardigan. And I haven't even, obviously, have not woven in ends. So that's fun. But super excited about this one. It is really, really cozy. This will be next up on the list for testing. So I'm super excited about that one. I'm going to wear it today because, you know, how could I not? And maybe one of these days I'll weave the ends in. I did want to let you guys know, though, if you have not seen on my Instagram feed, the next crochet along. So I've done 2 crochet alongs so far in the life of Pink Sheep Design, and I decided it was time for a third. So we are going to be starting. The introductory video is on Tuesday, so this coming Tuesday on YouTube at 12 p.m. Central Time. We're going to do an introduction. I'm going to talk about the yarn, different kinds of yarn you can use, all the materials you're going to need. We're going to go over sizing, and we are going to be making, we're going to be making a mini puff jacket. So this is my mini puff jacket. It's got the collar, which is a little crazy because of the yarn that I used, and it's got the pockets. So that is what we are going to be crocheting together. The way that I do my crochet alongs is I go live every week and crochet the next section with you, and I get as far as I can during that video. And if you check my feed like 2 posts back, you will see the information about this, and I have a post, the newest post on my blog, therealpinksheepdesign.com. That is where you can find the blog post, and you can see all the updates and what you need and all the info and all that. So I hope you guys will join. This is going to be a really fun crochet along. And I think that's everything. And one of the last ones, last update, I think, we have pom-pom makers in the shop. That's the other update from the past week. So if you are interested in a simple pom-pom maker, you can check out my last reel here on Instagram, and it'll show you how to use it. They're $15 in our shop. So if you want to check them out, you can. And yeah, that's in the Etsy shop. So today I am super, super excited to bring on Sugary Co. to chat about her journey as a maker. And let's see, Ashlynn of Sugary Co. I don't know why I wanted to call her Anna Lynn, and I think Anna Lynn was of Safari Crochet, maybe. I get so confused because we all have these multiple names, because we have our real names and we have our Instagram names, and it's like I feel like I'm doing good if I remember either or. So let's see if we can bring her on. I just saw that she joined the live. So let's see if I can invite her. And I hope you guys are having a fantastic start to your weekend, or your Friday. From today, I would love to know. Let's see if, aha, there we are. Hello.
How are you?
I'm great, and I'm gonna have to change the angle of the camera. There we go. Okay, perfect. I'm so glad you were able to join me today.
Me too. Thanks for having me.
Yes, and I saw, so I did not realize that you had not released the Cat and the Moon design yet.
A couple days ago, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when we chatted, that was not out yet. I love it.
It's perfect for Halloween.
It really is. It's fantastic. And so I have already started planning because, of course, I finished my Halloween pattern roundup, And of course, as soon as I finish it, I start seeing all of these other amazing Halloween patterns. So I'm like, next year, next year, next year. And like, it's already full. Next year, I'm probably going to have like 40 patterns on the round.
Right. Yeah. We need more hands.
Yes. And let me see. We already had, let's see. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so Cinder, did you figure out how to get rid of the banner? And I don't know how to get rid of the banner. So I guess because my account allows people to buy badges, it's like it goes on your face. So like my guest, and I don't know, like I can't flip the screen, so it's over my face. I was like, if I could put myself, on the bottom, because people already know what I look like. So here's the good news is that I am going to have, I do put these on YouTube. And the good thing is if you rewatch on YouTube, which obviously I don't want you to leave the live so you can watch the replay, but if you do, then the comments are obviously not on the screen on the replay on YouTube. So that is the good news. But I am sorry to anyone who has the badge, like buy a badge thing, because I've heard even if you buy a badge, it doesn't go away. So boo poo poo on Instagram for doing that. Let me see. Okay, I was just making sure I had not missed anything. And for anyone who, if you have a question or a comment and you don't want me to miss it, please be sure to put it in the question box. So if you look at the bottom of your screen while you're watching this video, there is a little speech bubble that has a question mark in it. So if you want to put a question in and make sure I don't miss that, please put it in that question box so that way I don't miss it and I'll see when it pops up. And I was just saying, for some reason, I wanted to say that your name was Anna Lynn, but it's Ashlynn. And I said, I'm talking to all of these new people. And so it's like the names and the tags and everything gets jumbled. But Ashlynn is here, and I would love if you, for anyone who is not following you and has just now discovered you as a fiber friend, if you want to give them just a little intro about what you do and who you are.
Sure. So my name is Ashlynn, and I'm the owner of Sugary Co., which is mainly like a crochet company. I design and sell patterns and the finished goods. Right now I'm kind of taking a hiatus from making custom orders because I'm currently living with my in-laws until spring. But other than that, you can find all of my patterns through Etsy. Some are on Ravelry. I like to focus on color work. It's my big thing. I can't get away from it, and I really like to bring like the funky spirit of the 70s and 60s era into my work and things like that. So yeah, if you like funky crochet patterns and things of that nature, I'm your girl.
And I love the 70s aesthetic because I feel like the kind of new generation of crocheters has really changed the look of crochet in a lot of ways. And I feel like there's so many things you can do, but you have kind of taken it to where you're almost modernizing the look of the older pieces. I mean, some of them are like true 70s looking pieces, but some of them, it's like it keeps the palette, but it has modernized with the color work, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing about crochet. You can customize it however you want, whatever colors you want. So something that you see of mine that you might not think is your bag of tea or cup of tea or whatever, you can totally make it that way.
Yeah. So someone did ask, can you show your work? Do you have any pieces around that you could, I mean, you just showed the other one, but you can show that again.
This is my most recent pattern. It's called the Salem sweater. It's inspired by, I was trying to find a good Halloween, design to go off of. So I just kind of looked at a bunch of 70s Halloween decor and came up with this. I like to dabble in some graphic art. But we love it. I have some hats that I'm working on. Let me go grab those.
Yeah. And I love the look of the eye on the moon. It's very unique, the way all that looks. And then the border of green around the cat. I love it. It's awesome. It just all came together so nice.
I try and keep my designs kind of simple. so that there's not
Mm-hmm.
too many colors going on, because I do know that like I'm trying to appeal to beginners,
Yes.
but color work, it kind of involves a confident beginner, someone who's had a little bit of experience with it. So I try not to make it too intense, although some people do get a little intimidated, but it's not too bad. You just got to practice a little bit.
Well,
So
and color work for sure is, I think, just in overall can feel intimidating for sure. But like you said, if it's, kind of, it's not like you're making a Fair Isle sweater, where it's like
yeah,
literally color changing every single row. And I think that can help a lot to keep it
yeah.
simple.
And the great thing about my patterns too is they're constructed in a way that's like, although I do want to do some top down work sometime,
Mm-hmm.
that'll obviously be a little bit more than beginner. Most of them are constructed by making front panel, back panel, bringing them pieces together and
Yep.
working off of that, which is great for beginners too. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I do have some hats and stuff. I've been working on some really funky stuff for Key West, Florida, because I'm currently living there.
Okay.
And I'm trying to get in all the markets here.
Yeah.
So I'm making some like sun hats,
Oh, those are great. Yes.
little buckety hats.
Yep.
I've got all kinds of colors here.
Those are wonderful. And I've heard those sell really well, actually.
They're pretty trendy right now, the checkered thing, and I'm not complaining. I love checkers, and I think it really goes well with the funk that I like. The brand.
Yes.
So that's what I'm doing currently, making a bunch of hats.
And somebody said, okay, so Handotherapist says anything to purchase. So I think you said that you were taking a little break with the, but do you usually have stuff available on your website?
So yeah, typically when I'm taking customs, I have like any of the designs that you see as patterns. Those will also be available as custom orders. I love taking on customs. It's so much fun for me to get, different sizes and colors, because I'm not one of those people who can make one thing and just never do it again. I like repetition.
Mm-hmm.
I like design over and over again. So yeah, that'll probably pick back up. Hopefully in the spring. We're kind of staying here for a while, so we'll see. But if you follow me, I'll keep you updated on when that'll come back. But for now, I do sell in person in Ohio, back home, in a shop called Ivy
Mm-hmm.
in Ohio. So if you want, if you're local, which I don't know how many of you are, maybe know people, but I do have a little bit of in person. Or if you want to come down to Key West, I'll hook you up.
Yeah. So that's a question now is you said back home in Ohio. So you're from Ohio. Are you going to be living in Key West at some point? Or are you just visiting right now?
So my in-laws live here, so I get to
Mm-hmm.
kind of live here sometimes for a couple months at a time. I'm very lucky. So I guess you could say I have two homes, but
Yep.
mainly I live in Ohio. Yeah.
Okay. And so there's not like a plan for you to move to Key
Not
West.
current, but
Okay.
I don't know if I can take the heat, but
That's true. I mean, this is the perfect time to be there, right? So you're there during,
yeah.
it's almost like the snowbird situation, right?
Yep, I'm walking away for the winter. Yeah, I get to miss all the dreaded snow, although it's not that bad if you're inside.
Yeah. Well, I think my dad grew up in Ohio, and I think I visited a couple of times because they had some family reunions, but I've never lived anywhere. I've never lived anywhere further north than Georgia, so I
Really?
have not
You
had to deal with.
you would know what to do.
Mm-mm. No, wouldn't know how to drive in the snow, wouldn't know. I mean, like I do because the problem is I get cold in Alabama. So I would have people at these craft shows in Georgia, and I can't tell you how many times the same situation happened. I would be at my craft show table and I make all of the chunky items. I've got the chunky hats, chunky
Yeah.
scarves. Yeah, and people would walk up to my table and be like, "Too bad we live in the South." I'm like, "If you're from here, you get cold in the winter."
I'm sure I'll acclimate, but yeah.
Yes. So I was like, you guys, well, if you're, visiting, then you can buy one for when you go back to
There
the
you go.
northern place you come from. So let's take it all the way back. And how did you learn to crochet? And what was that like for you?
So I learned when I was, I don't know, maybe 9 or 10 from grandma, which a lot of us do. But
Mhm.
she showed me the basics. She actually taught me how to, with my fingers, you make the loop and then you make another
Mhm.
loop.
Mhm.
So that was super sweet and fun and a great memory I have with her. And then I just picked it up and then put it down over and over throughout the years. But just recently, in the last 2 years, is when I had time, like a lot of people, um, to pick it back up indefinitely. And with everything kind of closing down in 2020, I feel like a lot of us find ourselves here and we're able to do the things that we once found joy in. And I just didn't stop after things shut down and I was cooped up in my house. I started picking it back up and crocheting more than I ever had in my life. Like
Mhm.
first time I ever made a garment was in 2020, and because I'd made like scarves and things like that, but that's just when it really started for me, the last 2 years.
That's awesome. And somebody did ask, so it was Jenny Bones. She said, I can creep her page and I will, but do you mostly crochet sweaters and clothing?
So, yeah, currently my focus is on clothing and apparel. I do want to get some, like the bucket hats. I want to get a pattern out for that. I think that would be great. I do have a pattern on a pillow, pretty butterfly pillow. I don't have it here with me, but
Mhm.
um, that pattern's available on my website. And I have a couple of free tutorials. I haven't really been able to do YouTube as much as I'd like, but I have a free tutorial for some things that aren't apparel, like a wall hanging with like a mushroom. It's called the triple
Mhm.
wall hanging. It's really fun, especially if you're just learning how to do color work.
Mhm.
And also have a throw pillow granny square pattern that is on YouTube for free, and a scarf. So a couple
That's
things
awesome.
aren't like sweaters.
Well, and I feel like a wall hanging is a really great way to start learning color work because you
Oh yeah.
don't have that overwhelming fear of like, not only do I have to make the color
Big.
work, I have to make the garment work.
Yeah, that can be overwhelming for sure.
Oh, awesome. So, let me see. Why do you feel like you're drawn to the 70s aesthetic? Where do you think that came from? And was that a part of your own personal style before it was brought into crochet?
So it probably started with like my grandma
Mm-hmm.
because she's got a lot of like 70s decor around the house. She has the Mary Mushroom canisters, which was the first pattern that I ever like, the wearable pattern I ever wrote was my Mary Mushroom top. And that
Mm-hmm.
came from a memory with grandma. And I think in high school, my style was very much more like alternative. And I'm one
Okay.
of those
Yeah.
kids who was alternative and then found out like about the Grateful Dead
Yeah.
and then became kind of like hippie-ish.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of was my personal style too. And then it just took off.
Yeah. I think it's so interesting to learn about people's personal style journey too, because I know for me, it took, I mean, even now, like now I'm in my 30s and I feel like I kind of have a grasp on my personal style. I kind of understand what I really enjoy and it all kind of does mesh now a little. Um, but I mean, I went through so many phases through like trying to find myself through
Sure.
clothing and and
Yeah.
it kind of helps designing because you design, you realize what you want to make and what's worth putting effort into. And then it's like, oh, if I like this enough to put all this time and
Yeah.
effort into, it must be my personal style.
Yeah, that's true. I like that. Yeah, I never really thought of it that way, but it kind of, I always thought about things that I have a very particular set of things I want to wear, and I find myself, Google searching this type of shirt or whatever. But then
Mhm.
when I found out I could make it myself, then yeah.
Definitely. you said, how long has it been since you started making wearables?
Um, about almost 3 years now because it started in
Okay.
2020.
What
So,
was the first wearable that you made?
I think well, no, it was more like, you know how everyone starts off with those little crochet bralettes with the little
Mm-hmm.
cup. I think
Mm-hmm.
that was probably my very first wearable that I made. I did a little number like that and then had granny square like on the bottom band.
Oh, yep.
Like,
I made one of those.
yeah.
Definitely. I think I made one that was like the style that came across the top and then down,
Yeah.
and then put the granny squares underneath it. So,
That too, yeah. Granny squares are a great place to start, and little bralettes are always like the first step that you take before making like full on sweaters and shirts, I feel.
yeah, yeah, that. And I feel like when I was first starting into this idea of like maybe I could make wearables, I remember when the cocoon sweaters were like
Me
the big
too.
thing.
You start with the middle of the back and then it wraps around. They even had them like
Yeah,
everything. Yeah.
yeah. I feel like at some point I'll have to make some kind of throwback, cocoon sweater
I like
because yeah, because it was that kind of first, and I don't have mine anymore. I remember I actually knit one, so I think that's why, it was really wonky. It was lovable,
that.
but I really didn't wear it, and so,
We all have
at
a
some point,
project like that.
I think I ended up giving it away, so at least
Yeah.
it was like somebody that wanted to wear it, um, and yes, so I did see Hando Therapist asked about learning to crochet, and Ellen did chime in. I do have a Learn to Crochet series on my YouTube channel that you can check out. It's a whole playlist. Um, but I would love to know, Ashlynn, if you have people ask you, like, I want to learn to crochet, what do you usually tell them?
Well, YouTube Academy for sure.
Hmm.
That's where I kind of start. YouTube, small projects, start out small, get the basics down.
Hmm.
That's pretty much what I have. I have a lot of people ask me about color work, and I've been trying to devise a Patreon where I come up with an entire course on start to finish how I come up with my um, design process, how I come up with the graph that I'm going to use for the color work, and then how to implement that into wearable pattern. So, but there's
That's
so
really
much
great.
information on YouTube, like basically anything you want to know, YouTube
Yeah,
Academy.
yeah. And I do feel like if you find a designer that you like, so if someone discovers you and is like, I don't know if I'm ready to do all of these patterns yet, but it's like you said, you can start with something as simple as a granny square because you can start off, mastering a granny square in one color. So learning how to make the granny square in one color, and then you can start color changing in the granny square. So you can
Yeah,
have a granny square that each row is a different color, which will get you comfortable with color changing.
that's true.
Um, and that will help you build those skills to make your Salem sweater, you
Mhm,
know.
exactly. I love the granny square for beginners because you can use it for anything.
Hmm.
Blankets, sweaters, pillows. You can make uh like socks out of granny squares. Just it's
Hmm.
endless when you make that square that's can add on
Yeah.
your yeah, it's just that's like one of the first things I suggest learning is a granny square
Yeah.
after a foundation chain.
Hmm. Well, and then you've got the granny stitch, so I feel like that's a really great one. Like once you learn the granny square, you can use straight granny stitches, and then you've
Yeah,
got all of the other, like the hexagon granny square cardigans that
which are
are
so much simpler than they
yeah,
look. I remember
yeah.
the first time I ever made one of those, and I was like, "This is magic."
Hmm. And that's something I want to figure out because, and this goes into a little bit of like the issue of trying to become a designer and like what can you and can't you do because what's already been done. Because like I would love to make my own version of a hexagon granny square cardigan,
Absolutely.
but I've got to figure out like I need to see what the different options are for hexagon granny squares because again they're not all the same. I mean there's
Right.
different ways to like do your stitches and different ways to do each row. And so that's something that I'm doing a little bit of research
That'd be
into
really fun
because
though, because then you
I
can,
know.
it's just a base you have. You can do whatever stitches you want.
Yeah.
The one pattern I have that does use hexagon granny squares as a cardigan is the Penny Lane cardigan.
Mm,
And you wouldn't know it just looking at it because it's just the one color, but that's just 2 hexagon granny
yeah.
squares. You work off of that, and then you have this beautiful long cardigan with
It's flowy.
fur. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I love that they're for the most part they're a good option for like spring and summer
Mm-hmm.
because, for me, most of my cardigans, because I use the super bulky yarn, it's a challenge making myself design for warmer weather because I'm like, what can I do? But it's a good challenge. It's like creatively pushing my brain,
Right. Gotta get out of your comfort zone.
Definitely. Someone asked, because you have the 70s aesthetic, do you like the Austin Powers movies?
Yeah, I love flowers. That's so funny. Yeah, of course. Who wouldn't?
So I would love to know from you, what has it meant for you to be a part of the greater crochet and fiber community? How has that community affected your life and what has that done for you?
Well, you know, going back to everything closing down and being really lonely and having hardly anyone to talk to, it really gave me a sense of togetherness. And I just
Mhm.
feel really grateful to be a part of the community. And it's awesome. I get to meet new people like you and connect, and we all get to bounce our ideas off each other and get excited about the same things because you have a husband. You know how it is. You can't really get the same interaction with them as you can with someone who understands your
Mhm.
craft. They'll be happy for you, of course, but
Yeah.
it's just so much different getting to connect with like-minded people, and it's been great.
Yeah. Yeah. I think my husband just gets tired sometimes of probably hearing about, projects over and over. I mean, I have to say, like, I don't feel that. Usually if I'm showing it, he's like, "Oh, yeah, that's really great," So like I feel good, And he helps run the business. So it's like he has crocheters reaching out to him. Like he probably knows more about, like, he started knowing
That's
which crochet
true.
stitches and, so he doesn't
Good job,
crochet yet.
Tim.
But it's getting there,
Yeah.
but and I don't know, I'm definitely more of a homebody, and so I feel like this, having the online community and getting to, because lives got so popular with COVID, people going live, and you really felt like you were getting to know people and
Yeah.
making friends instead of just being a follower, I guess. Like there was such
Yeah.
a big distinction gap.
We all get to be in this together. Like I'm always, if people reach out to me, I'm always responding. I'm always getting to know them. And I can't tell you the last time I had a bad interaction with a fellow crocheter. I mean, they do happen, but for the most part,
Hmm.
everyone in the community is so sweet and open-minded and encouraging, and we all support each other, and it's just awesome.
Yeah. I agree. I feel like it's, for the most part, and I don't know, I feel like, and this has been, the experience that I've had being on social media and trying to be approachable, and know that that means I'm gonna, oh
Hey, Belle,
goodness. Are you good?
we're good. I have a
It
friend.
almost it almost feels like the person fall when you see that. So it's like, are you okay? And it's like, it's just my phone.
Yeah. Does that happen a lot?
No, I mean, it has. It's definitely, I would have to say, out of, okay, I think this is episode 33 or something like that.
Yeah.
And it has to have been at least 5 or 6 times out of those
Good.
episodes.
Alone.
Yeah, you are not alone, I promise.
Hopefully it won't happen.
So Francis Metallo says, meeting more makers was the only good thing about COVID.
Yeah.
So that, and I was trying to make sure I didn't miss any other, oh, whoopsies, any other. It's really hard to go through these comments on Instagram. Um, and I think for me, I think that the positive things about COVID for me were meeting, it kind of forced you online if you wanted a community, so meeting other people. But for me, it was also figuring out priorities. Like, I think it forced a lot of people to reprioritize their life and
Yeah, for sure.
say, this is what's more important. And I saw that a lot. And I think it was for a pretty awful reason, but I do feel like a lot of people were like, no, I'm going to spend more time with family because now that I've had more time at home, this is what I want to do.
And you realize life is short.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to do something, you have to just do it. And sometimes you need a push. I was able to go back to school and start this business, and I'm making the least amount of money I've ever made in my life, but I'm so happy. So that's all that matters. It's a very slow process in becoming successful, whatever that means to anyone who's a small business. But if you keep doing what you love, it will pay off. And I'm waiting for the payoff, but it's getting there.
What are you going to school for? Are you still in school now?
I recently graduated. I went for interior design, which I haven't done much with because I've been so busy. But I do hope to get like a part-time position, maybe online, doing something with interior design. Or at the least, it'll help me when I buy my own house to make it extra beautiful.
So true.
Yeah, but it was a great experience. I got to learn a lot about design, and I feel like it helped me with like my graphics too. So
definitely.
Yeah. And knowledge is just so valuable.
Yes. Well, and I think too, even if and I feel like a lot of people don't end up using their degree or whatever in the way that they thought they would, but it doesn't mean they don't use it, because that's, my undergrad was biology and psychology. Now the biology side, not so much, really. Don't remember any of the, all the leaf cells, all that cytokinosis, whatever it's called. I don't even know anymore, but I learned it all. But the psychology degree has helped me with almost everything I've done, like just learning how to interact with people and, read people's emotions so that I can connect with them on a different level. Marketing and customer service, like it's made a huge difference.
Absolutely, I bet. Yeah.
And I know that will help, like as a designer, even if it's interior design, there's things you learn that can be brought into even your crochet designs.
Yep, like the, principles of design, all that good stuff. And it's just so fun. I got to learn about all kinds of different designers that I would have never thought about have I not gotten the degree, which is also really fun. Like Frank Lloyd Wright. I'm sure everybody is, but I was pretty clueless. So
I don't think I really I think I would have recognized his name, but it wasn't until I worked for PPA, which was Professional Photographers of America. That was the job I had right before we went full time with Pink Sheep, and people photographed his buildings so much that was why I was like, oh yeah, so that's who that is, because I would see all these beautiful photographs of his work.
Fascinating story of his life too. If you don't know anything about it, watch a documentary, because
I will have to now.
He had a wife and a maid who would set fire to his building. It was just,
oh my gosh,
just watch something on it. He's crazy.
Ooh. Oh my god. Well,
so
I need
appeal to the true crime interest that a lot of us tend to have.
That's really a thing with this community, isn't it?
Yeah, I've always thought about doing a coffee crochet and crime.
And I know that there's a true crime crochet podcast. No, yes, because I had someone reach out, and I can't remember who it was now. So if you are watching, please forgive me. Again, I'm awful with names, but they like to feature crocheters and designers and makers and things on podcasts. Yeah, and so they reached out just to ask if they could, highlight me as a designer on the show. I didn't come on the
Cool.
show or anything, but, just mentioning the people. But I was like, I see that as being very, very popular.
Yeah.
And I know they just came out with all of the like Jeffrey Dahmer stuff
Oh
on
yeah.
Netflix.
Already
And
watched.
it's interesting because I tried, and we do want to finish it. We watched like the first 2 or 3 episodes. And for me, I think I'm one of those people who I can't easily emotionally handle heavy stuff without it
Yeah.
like weighing on me. And I told my husband, I was like, we have to turn it off. Like, I just can't. I can't. And I was like, I
Aw.
want to finish it later. But like, there's only so much I can handle
Yeah,
emotionally.
that was a lot. I felt in the end, it's just you have so many mixed emotions about the situation, and it's
Yeah.
just anyway.
It's hard. It's hard. And that's why I'm like, people who love the true crime kind of stuff, I'm like, man, more power to you. Like, I can't watch horror movies. I can't, I'm in a
Um,
different place.
Good to know. I won't be discussing any of it with
Right.
you.
Well, and I like to hear it. I mean,
Yeah.
I like to still be able to connect with people. And, I have a lot of, I think I've got, I don't know how many people now, but my testers Discord has turned into a community where they can talk about things other than crochet, and
Yeah.
a lot of times things like that come up, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna check that out, and I do, I want to, and like I said, I'm probably gonna finish that series, but I had to take a break.
I feel that. Yeah. I had the tester group for my last pattern. We kind of talked about that stuff too.
Hmm.
It's kind of goes hand in hand. Weird.
And I was trying to see, somebody mentioned, Cinder said that would be fun. I think we're talking about the Crochet and Crime podcast. And then Otter and Papoose Yarn said, yes, Crochet, Coffee and Crime. And I have to say, that's like a really fun name.
I know.
Otter and Papoose.
Don't tell
I
anyone.
love it. Yes. And Jenny Bone says, is that the name of it? And I'll have to look up and see if anyone knows the name of that
I just
podcast.
I have no idea.
Yeah, if you guys know the name, because I know it's out there and I can't reach my computer, or I would look it up, but I'll have to look it up before I post this to YouTube, and I can put that, because there's a Facebook group for that podcast as well.
Oh,
So
cool.
I'm sure if you do a little Googling, you'll probably find it, but I will put it in the description of the YouTube video once I post this so that you guys can go check it out, because I have a feeling there's a lot of people on here that will go check it out. So, do you knit? That's a good one.
I know how to,
Uh-huh.
but I am so impatient that I just already know what I'm doing with the crochet
Hmm.
hook.
Yep.
I go, go, go. But it is one of my goals in the next
Hmm.
year to knit myself something. And I really
Yeah.
want to do Oshi Knits made you look top. I think that's what it's called. So
Mm.
cute. And
I'm
I know,
gonna write that down. You said Oh She Knits.
yeah.
I'm gonna go look them up.
Oh God, her stuff is so cute. And I think she just started dyeing yarn too.
Ooh.
So watch out.
Yeah, I that's one thing that I've always talked about trying, but it seems like such a big endeavor.
Yeah, sure. I feel that. Yeah, I really want to, but
Yeah.
I'll
Well,
get
and I know it's really a struggle because it is expensive, and I think there are a lot of yarn dyers that I've talked to, and I need to bring some yarn dyers on this Pink Sheep and Friends, because I think the only yarn dyer that's come on was Emma of What the Hook Creations, who dyes, and I don't know if she's regularly dyeing. Her and her husband are living the van life, so I
oh,
think it's
cool.
difficult to do the yarn dyeing
Yeah.
in a small space. But um, I feel like it's difficult to make it profitable unless people really, really unless you have enough people really willing to pay
Yeah.
for the hand dyed yarn.
It's a lot of time and energy, and
Mhm.
the prices are kind of, expensive because it is hand dyed.
Yeah.
But if you got the money, I think it's totally worth it.
Oh yeah. And I think a lot of it is establishing yourself as someone who is reliable. Because I think that's when you get into that situation where you have a lot of people that you're kind of competing against. I know, like, I try not to feel like,
Right.
it's the community over competition, all that stuff, but it is like you have other people that are selling similar things. And I think it really turns into the business side of things. Like, are you a reliable, dyer who is going to get people their orders when they, when they think they're going to get their
True.
orders? Are you photographing the yarn in a way that really truly showcases what it looks like? So it's all these other factors that you have to
Right.
make sure you're doing to establish yourself as a successful yarn dyer. And I think that's where it's like,
A lot of
maybe one day I'll release a couple of things, but I don't know if that's going to be like a
like
full-time gig for
exclusive,
me.
like maybe 1 month box subscription.
Yeah. And it looks like S. Duncan Clance is Big Sis getting interviewed. I'm so proud of you. Ah, it's always fun when family comes on, isn't it?
I guess. Hi, Savannah.
So let's see. So what has your experience been like with craft shows? Because do
So
artist markets, craft shows? What's that been like for you?
I'm really working on getting in there. I've done one market, and it was the Ohio Vintage Fest market, and it's
Hmm.
not really like a craft show. It was more of like vintage vendors, which was
Hmm.
really cool to be a part of because my style is kind of, vintage.
Yep.
So it was fun to be considered among the many hip and cool vintage sellers.
Yeah.
Went really well. I will say that if you want to do it, you've got to make lists, make plenty of
Hmm.
lists, read some articles on what to bring, and be prepared for anything. Because I,
Yes.
I was really lucky. It was my only one that I've done so far. I'm going to be doing more here in Key West, and I'm planning for things to not always go how you think they will. Um,
Hmm.
but I think the only thing that happened was we ended up breaking a prop, so we were
Yep.
lucky.
Yep. Yeah. It can be a hot mess.
Yeah,
Depending on what happens. And I did want to say thank you really quick to High on Crochet who bought a badge to support the video. So thank you so much. Thank you. Um, but yeah, I mean I have a couple videos that I've done on my YouTube channel just on being successful at craft shows, like preparing
yeah,
for them, getting ready for them. Because I had 2 or 3 years where I would do about 10 to 11 shows between the months of October and December.
ooh,
So
yeah,
like it was every weekend, it was every weekend. And um, luckily some of them went really smoothly, and it was ones that I would go back to because they were run very well and it was,
that's important.
yeah, and you have to know whether or not it's your people. And I say that in,
Yeah,
not everyone is looking for the same aesthetic of items, especially for you, very niche down style and look. So vintage was perfect. You did exactly what you needed to do, which is
yeah.
look for markets that, kind of match what you
Even
do.
designed like a little product that was specific to that niche. I
Hmm.
that I'd rather be thrifting mugs and
Yeah,
they went well too. So
that's awesome.
you definitely can add in those little elements to
Hmm.
different markets that you end up doing and to
Yep,
make them appear to that crowd for sure.
yep. Yeah, it's super helpful. And I'll put it again, once I put this on YouTube, I do have a craft show checklist that you
Right.
can just download for free. That just has, and the blog post where you download the checklist kind of goes into detail of some of the really funny situations that happen. Not all funny, but like I always say to bring like a painkiller, like an Advil or something, because I had one
That's a
show.
good point.
I
I
had
have
a migraine
horrible headache
middle of
after.
the show and didn't have anything for it. And like, you can't leave, like unless you have someone who's there. And I had to go literally up and down the row of vendors asking if anyone had Advil or Tylenol, know?
Yeah, that's a very good
So,
thing. I'm gonna put that on my list.
yeah. That and having, I almost always forgot business cards. That was a big one. I would have to get people to like take a picture of it.
You will have more business. Yeah, you'll
Uh-huh.
people those like
They still want them. They still want cards.
they collect them.
Hmm. I do have a book of business cards, so
Yeah.
it happens. It does. I've got, and it's one of those old, I don't even know if you can buy them anymore. They probably have them on Amazon, but it's like this black book that's like this big, and you open it, and it's got the little plastic slots for the business cards.
That's
So I was like, this is a good reason to collect them. I have somewhere to showcase them.
beautiful.
But yeah, it's overwhelming with at times with craft shows, and it just takes practice, and if you enjoy them, then it's worth continuing to put the effort in. And because I know for me, being a homebody, I still really loved having those moments of just getting to connect with people in the community
Yeah.
and other makers. I mean, like,
That's
it's
true.
the community side.
It is nice to connect with people, but when you are a homebody and you don't
Mhm.
leave the house for like a week and then you see like 1,000 people.
Yes.
But another thing that I want to say about markets is definitely think about your display, and the better the display, honestly, the better your sales will go. Like, I know it's kind
Mhm.
of scary to shell out that cash to get all the good stuff that you think you'll need,
Mhm.
but it is worth it because once you have all those things, you can use them again and again too.
Yep.
Like, some people make the mistake of like, oh, I'll bring a table and a cloth and that's all I
Yep.
need. And they might not do as well as they would have if they had like risers on the table to
Mhm.
make some products different heights, or
Yep.
like a big display with all their clothes on it, things like that. Display is
Yep.
important.
Well, and I think too, it definitely evolves. If you start at your shows, I do remember specifically a show was one of the first ones I went to, and I didn't have anything to display my stuff on, and I had this table full of just mountains of knitwear. I mean, like, people were having, it was like, when you go to
Like,
like a thrift store and you're having to dig through the bins,
mhm. Sometimes
um,
it's fun. I mean, that could work too. When I was at that vintage market, there were
mhm.
some that they would have everything really nice, and then they would have one rummage bin that was like
Yeah.
sale,
Yes.
which people still like to dig through.
Hmm.
An experience.
But it did force me to start saying, okay, what can I do? And it evolved so much to where by the time I was in my third year, I think I had, you know, anywhere from 6 to 10 of those milk crates that I had stained, so they looked really
Yeah.
nice. And I would stack those up and have different items in them. And it just looked super organized. But it took some time. It took some time
Yes.
to figure out, well, and to figure out what worked. Like, most of the shows that I went to, you didn't have an entire 10 by 10 tent space. You had your table.
Yeah.
So
So you have
it's
to see what
different.
works on the table for sure.
Yeah. The shows that you're going to be doing in Florida, are you looking at ones that will give you a little more space, or is it a
So
mix?
my first show I'm doing is in 2 weeks. It's
Mm.
2 weeks on a Saturday, the 28th. It's the Fantasy Fest Market. And I
Ooh.
don't know, but if you know about this, but here in Key West, like, Fantasy Fest is like the biggest time of the year. Like, they said that something like 70,000 people will be there. So it's going to
Wow.
be insane. And it
That's
definitely
awesome.
a good chunk of money to reserve, which,
Yep.
a little reluctant at first, like, oh, I can't do that show. It's too much
Yep.
money. There's a reason why it's that much
Yep.
money. So
Yep.
I spent a lot of money getting all my products ready to come. Like, I designed 3 different Key West little motifs.
Ooh.
So I'll
That's
have
awesome.
stickers, t-shirts,
That's smart.
keychains. Yeah, for sure. Because I still want to be able to sell my handmade goods.
Hmm.
But I don't have enough hands to make them quickly enough in order to make that much of a profit. So you
Yep.
kind of gotta think outside the box. What else can I sell and still be able to have my handmade goods? Unless you're one of those people who can pump out like 20 beanies in one day, which they exist. I'm not
Yes.
people.
And I used
I
to
have
be.
something else.
I feel like it was until, because the problem that most people run into with crochet is you can until you can't. So
Yeah.
I used to be able to. And my body was finally like, yeah,
My
this is not
hands.
happening. You can't, you're not allowed to anymore.
You
Because
wouldn't
I would
have
stay up all
those
night.
wrist stretches.
Uh-huh. Yep, I would stay up all night and be like, I need at least 10 more hats. And I would figure it out and have, the show the next day. And it was almost, it reminded me of like pulling all-nighters studying in
Or
college.
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
And I don't know how I did that either. So,
Yep. I know how. But I'm done with that. So I'm thinking outside the box, coming up with other goods I can make. Like crochet earrings are a good thing to do. Like doesn't
yes.
long. I love the crochet earrings. I got these cute little disco ball earrings that I'm doing.
Ooh,
Little mini.
I see.
And then
Oh,
I
that's
have a
funny.
little earring and
I
it
love it.
yeah.
Well, and I like that you have figured out, and I think this is a big thing for like a good takeaway for everybody if you're trying to do shows and trying to figure out what to sell, is figuring out things that still fit in your aesthetic that may not be crocheted. And I think the only advice on top of that that I would give is to make sure that when you apply, that you tell them all of the additional other things that you may be selling, because I've had that before where I say, here's all the things they make, and they say, you can bring everything but this because we do have a vendor who's
Yeah.
making this.
That happens sometimes at some shows, which I've started to notice because not because I'm doing them yet, but I've been looking to apply.
Mm-hmm.
So they have specific categories and
Yeah,
items and things like that. Luckily, the Fantasy Fest one is not that exclusive. Like you can
that's
kind of
awesome.
do what you want, which is nice.
Yep.
There are a lot of markets that are picky just
Yeah.
because of variety, which I don't blame them, but
Yeah.
they
And
do.
I do like that you have like the stickers and that was something I hadn't gotten into stickers until COVID. And so now it's like I've applied to one show, which mostly because I still have inventory in Tupperware bins that I had made for a show pre-COVID. And I was like, I'm never going to frog these hats because what am I going to do with the pom-poms? So I need to do a show to try and sell
For
these.
sure.
But it's exciting because now, I have had a lot of people at past shows who were like, I crochet, so I'm really, but I love your work. I just want to tell you how beautiful it is.
Yeah,
But
that's good.
now I would have stickers that, like you
Oh, you
crochet too,
crochet
here's some stickers. So it's
that?
smart to bring other items. And, there's so many great websites now that you can order from where
Absolutely.
you don't have to order such crazy quantities. Um, that you could buy, like you said, some t-shirts or some bags or
Yeah.
some mugs or some things that you could bring with you to the show. And that's super smart. And I never would have thought of that going to shows before.
Me neither. Yeah, once you start going though, like when you go to a show as a patron before even selling, you
Hmm.
don't think about these things. But after like trying to do your own thing and sell, you start thinking, oh, that's a really good idea. Oh, I see what they're
Hmm.
doing there.
Yeah,
And your brain just kind of changes. And
yeah, definitely.
so pay attention if you're going and just enjoying it and you're thinking
Hmm.
about your own show. It's kind of like homework. Like,
Yes. And I think that that's one of the tips that I gave in a video that I did a while back for like trying to figure out which shows are right for you is to attend them first. Like go to the show first, see what the vendors are like, make sure that that you feel like your stuff would fit in well with that show. Because a lot of shows bring back the same vendors year after year
yeah.
if those vendors do well. So that can be a really fun way. And see if you like the people that are there,
So
like
you're
would
gonna
you
have
talk to
to
any of them?
sure.
So we have, let's see, about 10 more minutes. So let's do some fun questions that I feel like are super important because we want to know about people. So what is right now your favorite weight of yarn to use?
Oh, it's always worsted weight.
Yeah. Has it
Because
always been that way?
I
Yeah.
always kind of has been. It's just so versatile. I can use it for anything. Um, I can use it in tops,
Mm-hmm.
jewelry, times, hats.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's my favorite.
And how about your favorite hook size? Go-to hook size when you're using
Five,
that? 5?
$5. Yeah.
Okay. And I do have to say, our most popular hybrid hooks that we've sold that have like the Bates and Boy metal hooks in them have been like, interestingly enough, one of them is 3.125. That's been very, very popular. I know. But the other ones are everywhere from 5 to 6.5. Like that's really like the go-to range for people.
People like the chunky, quick stuff, but I have noticed some people like, oh, I kind of want to get into fingering weight yarn. I'm not there yet.
I think the only thing I've made that was super teeny was I used embroidery thread to make little friendship rings. So they were still really fast because they're so little, you know, and you just work them in the round, and they're kind of stretchy the way that you know, once you make them, they have a little bit of stretch to them because of the crochet.
Cute.
But that was a really fun one. I'm telling myself one of these days I'm going to write that down and put it on my blog for free because it was such a fun little pattern.
Yeah.
So where do you like to buy your yarn? What's your favorite places to buy yarn?
So I have a budget, so I don't really buy the fancy yarn. If I can, I use it for myself. I don't resale.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of people also have budgets, so I typically buy my yarn from Joann's. My go-to brand is Big Twist. It's used in almost all of my patterns that use acrylic yarn. But if I'm going for like cotton, I prefer to use Hobie yarn. I don't know if I'm biased, but after them reaching out to me and me getting to try their products, this isn't even like a shtick. I really like the quality of their yarn. I think it's pretty affordable. It's a little bit more than like Lily's Sugar and Cream Super Saver, but the overall texture and feel of it is way softer. So like if you want a wearable like top or something like that, I think that their brand, it's like Rainbow Cotton, and I think it is like 888. Yeah.
Well, and I feel like Hobie, they're really nice. Like because I've gotten to work with them as well. And I feel like what's really nice about Hobie too is that they have the bulk discount. And like most places don't have that. So like with them, if you know you're going to need a lot of yarn, you can get bulk discounts because you're buying more, or if you're making wearables, like that's big for me because I make wearables. I need at least 600 yards of yarn if I'm going to buy a new yarn, because I know I'm going to make like a wearable or a cardigan or a jacket or a sweater. And so it's nice to know that I'm going to get a discount because I'm going to buy so much.
They're always running sales. So
yes, for sure. So let me see. What do you like to do while you crochet?
I like to either like listen to lo-fi music or I like to watch something true crime, or my favorite show, like cozy show right now, is Gilmore Girls.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. I used to love watching like The Office because I've seen it a million times. So I would turn that on, and it's
like the cozy show. Nice to have on.
Yeah, it's so funny because I feel like my husband's cozy show, because, you know, that whole idea of a show you've seen a million times, is The Walking Dead. But trying to call The Walking Dead a cozy show. But that's a good one too. Because we've seen that one so many times, we'll turn that one on. But I'm the same way. That one wears me out. Like if I watch too many of them, I'm like, I'm done. Like I just let's turn on The Office again so I can laugh.
There's like a Futurama joke where like the old lady who smokes is like, just turn on 2 of The Office.
Yeah.
Everyone likes The Office.
Yes, and we do like Futurama too. We have I haven't seen as many of them, so like the animated shows, I feel like more of an aficionado of Family Guy and South Park, because I've seen like every single episode. We have them on DVD, you know. But we went thrifting. This was probably a couple years ago, and we found a ton of seasons of Family Guy and Futurama in like the box sets. Yes, and they were like $1.99 for entire seasons. So we have watched maybe 3 or 4 of those Futurama seasons because I never watched it while it was on TV.
Really?
And so we'll have to get more because I've only seen the 4 seasons we have, and so I don't get to know all the jokes. Let's let's see. Okay, so we have about 5 more minutes. So I did want to ask you, what are some of the ways that people can support you right now, as of
So
now?
right now, if you crochet, I have tons of, I wouldn't say tons, like 14 crochet patterns for sale on
Hmm.
Etsy. I do have a couple on Ravelry. I'm working on getting them all on there, and
Hmm.
I'm trying to expand that and offer my patterns on other crochet pattern
Hmm.
sites.
Yep.
But other than that, you can support me that way. I do have like a link that is at the very bottom of my links page in the bio where you could
Hmm.
like buy me coffee or a skein of
Yeah.
yarn. And I think that's all I have right now. I wish I had wearables, but I don't. But yeah,
Well, they can follow you on
that, well,
Instagram
that's true. Yeah, you can
and watch and subscribe to your YouTube
exactly
channel.
all the same name, Sugary Co.
Uh-huh.
Um, I definitely suggest going over to my YouTube if you've never done any color work and you're scared of it. The
Hmm.
very first tutorial I have for the trippy toadstool mushroom, you could do it. Trust
That's
me.
awesome.
You feel like you can't, you can always reach out to me. Direct message on Instagram. I'm more than happy to help you through
Yeah.
anything.
Well, and it's a tutorial, right? So, I mean, they
Mhm.
can just follow you along for that one. That's
Yep.
really smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
You need
And
to post about that again.
my pattern that way they can like if I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
It's really amateur though, so don't it's I'm not that experienced in tutorials, so if you do have questions, I'm here.
Yeah. I mean, it takes a lot. That's, I'm planning on starting my next crochet along in start the intros next week, but then I'll actually start the pattern in 2 weeks to give people time to purchase the yarn. But the main reason I started doing crochet alongs live is because I found it really difficult to figure out the right way to do a full-on tutorial that's pre-filmed. Like it still feels intimidating and trying
Mhm.
to, edit it and, do I skip sections and say I'll meet you guys back, when you're
Yeah,
done?
it's difficult, and then just if you ever do one, just try not to go back and rewatch it too many times because
Yeah.
you'll feel like you missed something. But I like the idea of being able to, work alongside the artist. That way, if you do have any questions, you're right there
Yeah.
and feel a little bit more at ease and less intimidated.
Yeah.
Like,
And for me, it was kind of like it shows real life, like how long it takes. Because that
yeah.
was the Luna cardigan. I go live for an hour each week to go through the cardigan with everyone. And so I think the Luna cardigan took 6 episodes. And I'm talking, during making it. And I was like, so you can make it in 6 hours because I only did 6 episodes and from
Not
the start to finish.
but it's a it's a long time. But
Yeah. But
yeah,
I know a lot of cardigans, it takes, hours and hours if
8
it's
hours.
lighter
Yeah.
weight yarn.
Mhm.
But then the next crochet along I did took 10 episodes. So that was like, okay, it's a little bit longer, used a smaller hook, but I'm actually really interested because I don't know how many episodes it's gonna take when I start.
That's
So it's just kind of surprise. Like, I hope you guys are hanging in for the long
you're all
run.
together.
Exactly.
I like it.
So I'm interested to see how that goes. But I think it all boils down to if you're looking at trying to start a YouTube channel, make tutorials, do anything other than crochet just as a hobby to make things to sell. It's really just doing what works for you. Like you don't have to do anything just like other people did it in order
Right.
for it to be successful. For me, going live is much more comfortable. So I was like, I'll just do that, and then it's more fun for you.
Yeah. And the only other thing I have to say about that is if you're scared about it, that just means that it's gonna be good, and you just
Mm-hmm.
gotta start. You just
Yeah,
have to
start
do
somewhere.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And don't take the old videos down. I think it's so awesome to see people's growth. Like
Yeah.
you can see where people started and um, before you start a YouTube channel, this is a good one too. If you are on Instagram, you can start doing your tutorials and stuff on Instagram, and then you can download those videos off of
Yeah.
Instagram
I'm
and
on
put them on YouTube. So like if you're nervous about starting a YouTube channel, start here
very
on
smart.
Instagram and then download the videos to your phone, upload them to YouTube to start your YouTube channel, and you'll already have some videos, because that's how I started.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. So do you have anything that you are working on now that you're super excited about that you want to share before we go?
Well, the next pattern I have coming up is going to be a big color work project, and I'll just give you a hint. It's tarot card related, so you'll like it.
Woohoo! That's so exciting.
Yeah, watch out for that. That's
And
not.
that's so, it's so trendy right now. Like I always hate to call things trendy, but it is trending right now. Tarot card designs in
Yeah.
general is big right now. So that's going to be
It's not
awesome.
my original. It's a card that I'm gonna
Hmm.
be putting on the back of a big
Hmm.
comfy cardigan, and it's gonna be super cute.
How can people test for you? Because I feel like that's a big thing.
Yeah. So, whenever I do come up with a new pattern or a design, I will post about it a lot on my feed, and you can just
Hmm.
check on my Instagram for updates on it. But when it does come time to test, I will make a post just about that, and I'll make
Hmm.
sure to share it on my stories and have other people share it.
Awesome.
And I usually have a link that's in my bio that takes you to a form that you can fill
Hmm.
out, and
Yep.
then I'll get back to you through Instagram to see if you're going to be a test or not.
Awesome. That's good to know. I feel like that's a big one for a lot of people. If you really like a designer, you want to know how to test for them. So
Watching their page, which can be hard with all the
mhm.
amazing designers out there. So
Yep. And you
maybe a
can,
list.
yes, and you can turn on notifications. So I know sometimes it can get a little overwhelming, but I know for me, I have a few brands that come out with limited edition items that sell out really fast. And
Yeah.
so I have at least 5 or 6 accounts that I have notifications turned on, and it notifies me every time they post.
I always forget.
Um,
But yeah, if you want to
yes.
be notified of anything new that's
Mhm.
coming up, you can turn on your
Yeah.
notifications.
And you can turn them on and off, so that's one of those where if someone was like, "Ooh, she's got a tarot card design coming on," I'm turning on notifications until she calls for testers, and you can turn those on and off. So if you know that someone is working on something you're really excited about, you can turn on notifications for a little while. And someone did ask, well, Tracy said, "Love your work." And High on Crochet said, "Where did you get your form?" I'm guessing it's probably a Google form that you
Yeah,
created.
I think it's a Google form. I just went
Mhm.
onto the App Store and typed in free forms account,
Gotcha.
and I think you get like a limited amount of forms that you can do within a month. But I don't like a lot of teachers and stuff use it for their students,
Gotcha. Yep.
so it works for me. I don't have to pay for any kind of subscription. It's free.
Mhm. If you have a Google account, you can get a Google Drive account. If you don't have one, I don't use an app for mine, but I do know that once you have the Google Drive account, you can create forms in Google Drive, and it'll give you a link that you can share. So that's what I do currently. And something that you can do if you're interested in creating your own form, the next time someone does a call for testers, check their form out and write down some of the questions. That make it easier. You don't have
Yeah.
to reinvent the wheel with making your forms.
I always feel like I'm cheating when I do that. I was telling someone, I always feel
Stealing
like,
their questions.
yeah, like I'm cheating by stealing it, but honestly, no, it's work
Same
smarter.
questions. Yeah, yeah. So, well, thank you for coming on today. This was fantastic, and we'll have to bring you back on. I know I'm getting to a point where I think probably in the next year or so, I'm going to want to check back in with people and see
Oh, that's
what they're working on, what's new in their life and in their world. But I'm so glad everyone got a chance to get to know you. And for anyone who
yeah.
came in late, or if you want to rewatch this, like I said, this will be on my Instagram feed, but I also have a playlist on YouTube for all of these interviews. So if you want to meet any other designers, if you want to rewatch this, it's also a better place to find the information that we talked about. So I took notes. There's a few things that I'm going to include in the description on the YouTube channel that you can link out to, as well as all the different ways that you can support Ashlynn. So thank you again, and I
Thank you
hope
so
that you
much.
have I hope you had fun.
I had so much fun. I can't wait to do it again.
Awesome. Well, we'll talk soon. I hope everyone that joined has a great start to your weekend. And we'll see y'all later. Bye, guys.
Bye.